Okay, so you ready?
Yep, you can go.
Okay, great. Okay, good night, everyone. I hope you all are awake still because my group and I are here to present Chapter 13 Creating Vision and Strategic Direction. My group members are Rihanna Peters, Neela Ramjatan, and myself, Denicia Cooper. The content or topics for our presentation tonight would be strategic leadership, leadership vision, developing a mission, strategy in action, the leader's contribution, and the leader's impact. Introduction. In the realm of organizational leadership, the concepts of vision and strategic direction are pivotal for guiding an organization towards its future goals. Richard L. DAFT emphasizes that a compelling vision serves as a beacon for organizations linking the present state with an aspirational future. This vision is not merely a lofty ideal, it is a credible and attractive future that can be realistically achieved, yet remains challenging enough to inspire commitment and action among employees. Now, I have a little story to tell. So, as a teenager, Burt Rutan was inspired by President John F. Kennedy's bold vision of landing a man on the moon, a mission that ignited the imagination of an entire generation. Decades later, Rutan himself set an equally ambitious goal: to make human space travel as commonplace as flying in an airplane. To achieve this, he founded Scaled Composites, where he encouraged his team to think differently, pushing the boundaries of conventional aerodynamics. His early success came with Voyager, a groundbreaking aircraft that made the first non-stop flight around the world without refueling. When Rutan first shared his vision of creating a spacecraft capable of routine space travel, it was daunting for his team, who were experts in low speed, subsonic flight, but novices in space technology. Yet, the strength of Rutan's vision galvanized every employee to contribute. In 2004, they achieved a historic milestone when Spaceship One completed two human space flights in a single week, securing the 10 million Anasari X prize and marking the first privately funded space journey. This feat caught the attention of major investors, including Richard Branson, who joined Rutan in developing Virgin Galactic to commercialize space travel. Mila, to the next slide. Rutan's vision reflects the powerful role leaders play in shaping the future. Like Kennedy's vision of a moon landing, Rutan's goal for accessible space travel was idealistic but deeply energizing, uniting his team around a shared goal. Effective leaders, like Rutan, communicate a vision that inspires and aligns their followers, creating momentum for the future. Leaders are, as Lauren Monroe described, drum majors who set the direction, reminding their teams of what they are collectively striving to achieve. Through clear vision and strategic focus, they channel energy, foster commitment, and build a path toward transformative goals. Rutan's journey underscores how powerful vision can change industries, motivating people to move forward ambitious futures together. Moving forward, we're going to discuss strategic leadership. Strategic leadership is the ability to anticipate and envision the future, maintain flexibility, think strategically, and initiate changes that will create a competitive advantage for the organization in the future. It encompasses several key components that are essential for effective leadership in a dynamic business environment. Now we're going to discuss some components of strategic leadership. Firstly, we have vision and direction. At the core of strategic leadership is the establishment of a clear vision for the organization. Leaders must articulate this vision in a way that inspires and motivates employees at all levels. This vision serves as a roadmap, guiding decision-making processes and aligning organizational efforts towards common objectives. Secondly, we have adaptability and change management. Strategic leaders must also demonstrate adaptability in response to changing market conditions and organizational challenges. This involves not only recognizing where change is necessary, but also effectively managing the transition process. Leaders should foster an environment that embraces innovation and encourages employees to contribute ideas for improvement. Number three, we have decision-making skills. Effective strategic leadership requires strong decision-making skills. Leaders must analyze complex situations, weigh potential risks and benefits, and make informed choices that align with the organization's strategic goals. This often involves collaboration with other stakeholders to gather diverse perspectives before reaching a conclusion. Number four, we have building relationships. Another critical aspect of strategic leadership is the ability to build strong relationships within the organization. Leaders should cultivate trust and open communication among team members, which enhances collaboration and fosters a positive organizational culture. Strong relationships can lead to increased employee engagement, which is vital for achieving strategic objectives. Number five, we have performance monitoring. Strategic leaders are responsible for monitoring organizational performance against established goals. They should implement metrics to assess progress and make adjustments as needed to stay on track. This ongoing evaluation helps ensure that the organization remains aligned with its strategic vision. And lastly, number six, empowerment of employees. Finally, strategic leadership involves empowering employees by delegating authority and encouraging autonomy in decision-making processes. When employees feel empowered, they are more likely to take initiative, contribute creatively, and drive the organization forward. Now, these were some things that our colleagues would have spoken about previously. However, moving on, we're going to discuss leadership vision. According to Richard DAFT, leadership vision can be defined as a clear and compelling picture of the future that a leader seeks to create for their organization. This vision is not merely an abstract idea, it is a concrete representation of what success looks like and how it can be achieved. A well articulated vision helps align the efforts of team members, fostering collaboration and commitment towards common objectives. Great leaders throughout history have demonstrated common personal characteristics that define their leadership style, one of which is a strong belief in fundamental ideals. This belief often manifests in a clear vision that inspires and mobilizes individuals towards achieving significant outcomes. For instance, historical figures like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Winston Churchill exemplified how a powerful vision could galvanize people around shared values and goals. Now we're going to briefly discuss again components of leadership vision. Firstly, we have clarity. A strong leader vision must be clear and easily understood by all stakeholders within the organization. This clarity ensures that everyone knows what the goals are and how they contribute to achieving them. Secondly, we have inspiration. The vision should inspire employees, motivating them to strive towards achieving shared goals. An aspiring vision creates enthusiasm and encourages individuals to go beyond their immediate responsibilities. Number three, we have future orientation. Leadership vision is inherently forward looking. It involves anticipating future trends, challenges, and opportunities that may impact the organization. Leaders must think strategically about where they want their organization to be in the long term. Number four, alignment with values. The vision should align with the core values of the organization. When leaders articulate a vision that resonates with these values, it fosters trust and loyalty among employees. And lastly, communicability. Effective leaders must communicate their vision consistently across various platforms within the organization. This communication helps reinforce the message and keeps everyone focused on shared objectives. Moving forward, we're going to discuss the importance of leadership vision. The significance of leadership vision cannot be overstated, but we're going to discuss these. Firstly, guidance for decision making. A well defined vision provides a framework for making decisions at all levels of the organization. Secondly, cohesion among team members. When everyone understands and buys into the leadership's vision, it promotes teamwork and unity within the organization. Number three, adaptability and change. In times of change or uncertainty, a strong leadership vision can serve as an anchor, helping organizations navigate through challenges while remaining focused on long term goals. And lastly, performance improvement. Organizations led by visionary leaders often experience higher levels of performance because employees are motivated to work towards meaningful objectives. Now I will hand you over to my colleague who will take us further into this presentation.
Developing a mission. In outlining the mission statement of a leader or organization, there are several questions that are necessary to ensure a successful output, such as what do I want to accomplish, which is clearly defining the goals and objectives, set the right direction and purpose of the mission. Number two, who else might be interested in this venture? Identifying stakeholders and potential partners ensures alignment and support from those who matter. Number three, how do I begin? Establishing a clear starting point and actionable steps ensures that the mission is set in motion effectively. Now, apart from these necessary questions, what do you all think might be some other questions that you might ask um, a leader? Right. Moving on to just a quote from DAFT to get his view in terms of what he might think. Right. The key element of an organization is not a building or set of policies and procedures. Organizations are made up of people and their relationships with one another. An organization exists when people interact with one another to perform essential functions that help attain goals. Recent trends in management recognize that the importance of human resources, with most new approaches designed to empower employees with greater opportunities to learn and contribute as they work together toward common goals. Now, this is just an example of a company that we all might know, Kodak, one of the first or the inventors of the first camera, one which has a mission statement in which they did not really abide by and eventually led to bankruptcy. So the name of the company is Kodak, and their mission statement is build a world class, result oriented culture. And the scenario was Kodak was once a leader in the photography industry but failed to adapt to the digital revolution. Despite inventing the first digital camera, Kodak stuck to its traditional film business for too long, ignoring the potential of digital technology. This misalignment with the change in market and their mission to innovate led to their decline and eventual bankruptcy. Um, just to highlight or touch on some other successful leaders and what their mission statement would have led to, just to give us an idea of what their minds are at. So, Steve Jobs would have made a statement that we're here to put a dent in the universe, otherwise, why even be here? Which he definitely put a dent on the universe, right? Um, Oprah Winfrey, to be a teacher and to be known for inspiring more students to be more than they thought they could be. And Nelson Mandela, the greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall. And this is just one of the YouTube videos that we have.
The saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime, I truly believe relates to leadership. As a leader, do you ever find that an awful lot of your day is answering people's questions and solving people's problems, even though actually you have a suspicion they probably could do that themselves? And as leaders, we do have experience and we do have knowledge that is absolutely fine to share with others in the right situation. However, are we really helping people? So in fact, when we do give advice and share our experiences, are we in fact feeding them just for the day so they will come back another day? What we want to do, of course, is to teach them to fish. But by just feeding them, we're also probably feeding something in ourselves. I know that I have a real need for recognition and also to be needed. And that helps me in an awful lot of aspects of my life. But in leadership and coaching, it can be a real hindrance. When somebody asks me for my advice, I absolutely love that. I'm helping them, aren't I? But in essence, I'm really just truly filling a need in myself. So when I came across really what coaching was all about, which is giving somebody else the capacity to solve their own problems by getting them to explore their own situation, that really did enlighten me as to what we can do for other people. So rather than feeding me, it's all about that person. I came across a story a number of years ago, which really helps me relate and think about what I'm doing to help other people. And that's the story of a man who came across a butterfly cocoon. The man came across this cocoon and saw the small hole and the butterfly struggling to get through this small hole. And he was absolutely fascinated with this butterfly's struggle. And as he watched it, he was curious as to how the butterfly was going to manage to get through this minute hole. He went away, and a few hours later he came back, and the butterfly was still trying to struggle through the hole. He watched, thinking, what could he do to help? He felt for the butterfly and wanted to do something. But again, he went away, hoping that when he returned, that the butterfly would have flown away. So when he did return, to his dismay, the butterfly was still trying to struggle through the hole and looked like it was almost giving up. And he could not hold himself back. So he wanted to help the butterfly so much, he took a pair of scissors and he cut through the cocoon. And out came the butterfly with ease. But to his absolute horror, instead of the butterfly that he expected, the butterfly had an engorged body and withered wings. Because the man, in his haste to help, did not realise that the struggle for the butterfly to get through the hole in the cocoon actually serves to force the fluid from its body into its wings, so it can be fully formed to fly as a butterfly should. So that story stays with me and helps remind me of when I'm leading and coaching as to what I can do in service for other people. So I challenge you as leaders, before you dive in and give advice, is to think about how much pleasure you get from solving problems, and instead give the greatest gift of giving that other person the pleasure of solving their own problem. by asking great questions, getting them to explore their situation, and more importantly, it's about patience. Waiting whilst, in fact, the person probably struggles to their own solution, because great leaders are surrounded by beautiful butterflies.
Right, so now we can move on to strategy in action. Now, this would refer to the practical implementation of a leader's vision and goals through concrete actions. It's about transforming strategic plans into real world initiatives that drive success, because having a mission or a vision or a goal is good, but if you don't actually put it into action, then it really doesn't make sense. So just an example of a real life situation, given an example how a popular company, Starbucks, actually put their strategy into action, because Schultz transformed Starbucks from a small coffee shop to a global brand. His strategy focused on creating a unique customer experience, expanding product offerings, and growing their company presence worldwide. His leadership and vision led to Starbucks becoming a household name. Now, Starbucks was not always the big company that we know and love. It was actually a small coffee shop. Even, for example, um, Amazon was never a big company like we know. It was actually opened in a garage. So, a lot of these bigger companies that we think that it just get big just like that, it does never be like that. Right, so this is another video of the former President Barack Obama speaking to students about leadership. So now we can hear from his experiences and everything.
We begin with breaking news. Former President Barack Obama is back in.
So, what's been going on while I've been gone? It is wonderful to be home. It is wonderful to be at the University of Chicago. It is wonderful to be on the south side of Chicago. And it is wonderful to be with these young people here. And what I want to do is just maybe speak very briefly at the top about why we're here. And then I want to spend most of the time that we're together hearing from these remarkable young people who are, I think, representative of some amazing young people who are in the audience as well. I was telling these guys that it was a little over 30 years ago that I came to Chicago. I was 25 years old, and I had gotten out of college filled with idealism and absolutely certain that somehow I was going to change the world. But I had no idea how or where or what I was going to be doing. And so I worked first to pay off some student loans. And then I went to work at the City Colleges of New York on their Harlem campus with some student organizing. And then there were a group of churches out on the South Side who had come together to try to deal with the steel plants that had closed in the area and the economic devastation that had been taking place, but also the racial tensions and turnover that was happening in these communities. And so they had formed an organization. They hired me as what was called a community organizer. And I did not really know what that meant or how to do it. But I accepted the job. And for the next 3 years, I lived right here in Hyde Park, but I worked further south in communities like Roseland and Auburn Gresham and Ogdale Gardens and West Pullman. Working class neighborhoods, many of which had changed rapidly from white to black in the late 60s, 70s. And full of wonderful people who were proud of their communities, proud of the steps they had taken to try to move into the middle class, but were also worried about their futures because in some cases their kids weren't doing as well as they had. In some cases, these communities had been badly neglected for a very long time. The distribution of city services were unequal. Schools were underfunded. There was a lack of opportunity. And for 3 years, I tried to do something about it. And I am the first to acknowledge that I did not set the world on fire, nor did I transform these communities in any significant way, although we did some good things. But it did change me. This community gave me a lot more than I was able to give in return, because this community taught me that ordinary people, when working together, can do extraordinary things. This community taught me that everybody has a story to tell that is important. This experience taught me that beneath the surface differences of people, that there were common hopes and common dreams and common aspirations, common values that stitched us together as Americans. And so even though I, after 3 years, left for law school, the lessons that had been taught to me here as an organizer are ones that stayed with me and effectively gave me the foundation for my subsequent political career and the themes that I would talk about as a state legislator and as a U.S. Senator and ultimately as President of the United States. Now, I tell you that history because on the back end now of my presidency, now that it's completed, I'm spending a lot of time thinking about what is the most important thing I can do for my next job. And what I'm convinced of is that although there are all kinds of issues that I care about and all kinds of issues that I intend to work on.
All right, so it's quite a long video, but we just wanted to show you all the experiences that he had and what made him into the person that he is today. We could always send the video on the group as well, so you all can have a look at it, because it's 13 minutes long, so we can send it so you all can look out of it, right? Right, so moving on, I'll pass you all to Brianna, and she'll go through the leader's role in vision and strategy.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm going to discuss leaders' contribution and the leader's impact. Moving forward. The leader's contribution. Purpose. Understand how leaders contribute to organization and how their action impacts culture, employee motivation, and organizational success. Next slide. Leaders play a crucial role in shaping and communicating a vision and strategy that aligns with an organization's goal, while also inspiring employee effective leaders to create clarity, foster a sense of shared purpose, and motivate individuals by connecting day-to-day tasks to larger and meaningful goals. Moving forward. They do this by defining clear and compelling vision, developing a cohesive strategy, effective communication, inspiring and engaging employee, modeling the vision and strategy. Next. So, visionary leaders. Do anyone know who these two men are? Anyone? Okay, so one is Daniel. Thank you.
Oh, hi. I recognize Elon Musk, and I'm trying to remember the second person. I can't even forget his name at this moment. But he was the founder of Apple.
Yes, Jobs.
Yes, thank you.
And would you consider these two men visionary leaders? If you do mind answering, if you don't mind answering that question.
Yes, I would. Oh, yes, I would. I would. Yeah, yes, I would.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Okay, moving forward. So now I'm going to look at Steve Jobs from Apple and how he focused on simplicity and innovation, driving a clear vision that led Apple to become a leader in consumer electronics. So, Apple to retail. When Apple faced growing competition from Microsoft, Singular, and other companies, Steve Jobs made the strategic decision in 2001 to get into the retail business, which wasn't the norm for selling expensive products like computers. He visioned Apple as the Starbucks without the latte, where people check their emails and browse the web, which later paid off since Apple became a retail phenomenon. Next slide. So we're going to look at a video where Steve Jobs' vision for Apple Store changed retail.
Well, I think what Apple did, Apple is a great example when we talk about sort of, your choice is either super convenience or super fidelity. Apple was one of the few retailers that sort of covered both ends of the spectrum at once, right? So if you had a problem with your computer, you could go online, you could search for frequently asked questions, you could go into the Apple forum, you could, go into the Mac users forum, you could try and find an answer that way. You could phone them, you could talk to somebody at the store, but if all of that didn't work, if all that convenience type stuff didn't work, then you could go right to the Genius Bar, which was sort of the high fidelity, high touch experience. So I think that piece they really changed. They changed that service model forever. From a physical standpoint, they changed, I think. I mean, what Apple was very good at doing was thinking radically. And a lot of this didn't come out until very recently. Like a lot of retailers tried to emulate Apple, but they really couldn't for some reason. And a lot of it was because the thinking in Apple was very radical. They didn't model themselves after any other computer store. It was all very, very unique stuff and very engineered as well. For example, I just heard this recently. As an Apple employee, even the words that you used were trained, right? So you were trained not to use certain words. One of them was unfortunately. You could never use the word unfortunately. So you were trained to say, as it turns out, instead of unfortunately. So just as a means of breaking bad news to someone, right? As it turns out, your warranty doesn't cover this, right? Instead of saying, unfortunately, your warranty doesn't cover this. So what people didn't get, I guess, was just how engineered that whole experience was, from every aspect, to how you were greeted, where in the store you were greeted, what was said to you, along the way, the use of mobile POS systems. They were innovative in that regard, that there was no lineup at the cash register. They just sort of broke all the rules that other retailers said, well, that's just the way retail is. We have to have a lineup at the cash register. That's the way it is. Maybe, it sort of goes to just Steve Jobs' sheer delight in their products and in the design of their products, that they treated them like they were pieces of art. They positioned them on those tables as though they were sculpture. It's pretty remarkable. And breaking all the paradigms, like just saying, a computer store doesn't need to look like that anymore. We can break all those rules. And I think a lot of that does go to there was a sense of, I was talking with somebody the other day in the wake of Steve Jobs dying, and about the lack of showmanship that exists among CEOs of companies. And Steve Jobs was a showman. He was sort of like Willy Wonka in that sense. He absolutely loved their products, and he delighted in showing people those products. And that was really reflected in their store environments too. Everything was kind of a celebration of their product. And I don't think we have enough of that. I don't think CEOs are good enough at that anymore. Kind of that pulling off the white sheet, and unveiling things. Which is really exciting, and he was brilliant at it.
Have you ever wondered why so many businesses don't really make a lot of money? It's amazing how few businesses do $100,000 a year in revenue. It's amazing how few businesses do $1 million a year, even fewer 10 million, fewer than that.
So, Steve Jobs' vision of establishing Apple retail stores is a powerful example of how his leadership style was instrumental in driving innovation and enhancing customer experience. Jobs had a unique vision for how customers should experience Apple products, believing that a hands-on, immersive environment would showcase the quality and design of Apple devices better than third-party store could. This vision led to the creation of Apple Retail Store, despite initial skepticism from the board and industry experts. This willingness to take calculated risks demonstrates a key aspect of visionary leadership. Jobs anticipated what customers would want even before they knew what they wanted, and he had the conviction to pursue that vision. Now I'll discuss Elon Musk as a visionary leader. Moving forward. Elon Musk is often regarded as a visionary leader due to his ability to identify and pursue groundbreaking ideas that address complex global challenges. His leadership at Tesla and SpaceX exemplify his long-term thinking and innovation approach. Musk's vision of a sustainable future is evident in Tesla electric vehicle and renewable energy products, aiming to reducing the world reliance on fossil fuel. Tesla Model 3, for instance, revolutionized the electric vehicle market by offering an affordable mass market EV option and pursuing traditional automakers to follow suit. Tesla's success has inspired an industry-wide shift towards electrification, positioning Musk as a catalyst for change in automotive sustainability. At SpaceX, Musk's ambition extends to making life multiplanetary. The company's achievements, such as the development of the Falcon Heavy rocket and reusable rocket technology, are milestones in the journey to make space travel more affordable and accessible. In 2020, SpaceX became the first private company to send astronauts to the International Space Station, fulfilling Musk's goals to reduce the cost of space exploration and establish a path to Mars colonization. Through such ventures, Musk demonstrates visionary leadership by challenging limits and setting new standards for technological advancement and sustainability. Elon Musk's development of humanoid robots, specifically through Tesla Optimus robot, can indeed be seen as an extension of his visionary leadership. This initiative aligns with Musk's long-standing interest in pushing technological boundaries to solve real-world challenges. Tesla Optimus robot, introduced in 2001, is intended to handle repetitive or dangerous tasks, eventually improving productivity in workplace and enhancing everyday life. The robot is designed to leverage Tesla AI, neutral network, and self-driven technology to navigate and interact in dynamic environments. Musk's vision of humanoid robots reflects his approach to address labor shortage and increase automation, promising to reduce the risk for humans in hazardous and high-risking jobs. In typical Musk fashion, he is challenging industry norms by aiming to make the Optimus affordable and accessible to the general public, which could lead to widespread adoption of robotics in ways previously unthinkable. By investing in this next frontier of automation, Musk demonstrates a visionary drive to integrate advanced robotics into society, potentially reshaping labor markets and sparking new ethical and practical conversation around AI and automation. Moving forward. So now I will be discussing how leaders decide. Leaders play a crucial role in shaping and communicating a vision and strategy that aligns with an organization's goals while also inspiring employees. Effective leaders create clarity, foster a sense of shared purpose, and motivate individuals by connecting day-to-day tasks to larger, meaningful goals. Leaders turn vision into action by first defining a clear, inspiring goals that align with the organization's values. They break these goals into achievable steps, assigning specific responsibility and setting short-term milestones that builds momentum. Through consistent communication, leaders remind their team of the vision purpose, gather feedbacks, and celebrate small wins to keep motivation high. By modeling the desired behavior and remaining adaptable to change, leaders ensure that the vision stay relevant and each team member understand their role in making it a reality. They do this by internal and external scanning. Leaders analyze both internal and external environments to identify trends, threats, and opportunities. Vision and strategy development. Leaders create an inspiring vision with a concrete plan using industry foresight from trends in technology, demographic, government regulation, and values to find competitive advantage. Hard analysis tools. Leaders use tools like SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, and fortify forces, new entrants, buyer power, supplier power, substitutes, and competitive rivalry to shape strategies. Next slide. Balancing rationality with intuition. Leaders rely on factual analysis but avoid over-rationalization, combining rational planning with personal insight and creativity. Intuition and personal experience. Leaders draw from personal experience, intuition, and insight beyond conventional wisdom to uncover new opportunities. Vision from hopes and dreams. Leaders listen to their own and followers' aspiration, using foresight, instinct, and deep personal connection to create a vision that resonates on an emotional level. Moving forward. The leader's impact. When leaders effectively link vision with strategy, they can significantly shape the future of their organization. The most influential area of leadership often lies in strategic vision and translating that vision into actionable steps. Research indicates that forward-thinking, strategic planning can have a positive impact on an organization's performance and financial success. In fact, studies suggest that up to 44% of the variance in profitability amongst major firms can be attributed to strategic leadership. This connection between visionary leadership and strategic execution underscores the powerful role leaders play as architects of their organization's success. They do this by vision and strategy connection. Leaders who align vision with strategy significantly influence an organization's future success. Strategic impact. Strategic thinking and planning by leaders positively impact a company's performance with up to 44% of profit variance in major firms attributed to strategic leadership. Leadership turnover impact. Research on CEO turnover show positive effects on profit, stock prices, and engagement metrics, with leader succession explaining 20 to 40% of overcome outcome variance. Sorry. Next slide. Top leadership teams. Leadership teams, rather than a single CEO, often better support organizational capabilities and strategic opportunities. Team diversity, size, attitudes, and skill enhancement communication, collaboration, and overall performance. Adaptation and complexity. In complex environment, effective leadership teams better identify and implement strategy, interpret external factors, and foster internal capabilities through empowerment and shared vision. Significant influence. Leaders' choices consistently demonstrate a measurable impact on organizational performance, even in varying conditions. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you, Rihanna. So now I will just like to share a quote by Ronald Reagan. He said that the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He is the one that gets the people to do the greatest things. So in conclusion, we would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone for joining this session on creating vision and strategic leadership, inspired by the insights of Richard L. Daft. Through his work, we were able to explore not only the essence of developing a compelling vision, but also the profound impact of strategic leadership and organizational success. This presentation has deepened our understanding of how clear, shared vision can unite teams, inspire innovation, and drive sustained progress. We're grateful for the opportunity to share these ideas with all of you and for the enriching discussion it sparked. Thank you once again for your time and engagement. The following are our references. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you again.